Hello, District 31. We are here with Stefano McGhee today, the second vice president-elect.
I'm in, man. I'm in.
You're in.
Yes,
the second vice president of Toastmasters International from District 31.
That's right.
We're here. We want to learn a little more about Stefano and his origins in District 31. So my first question, Stefano, is how did you get started in Toastmasters? And approximately when was that?
Wow. So yes, the origin story is pretty interesting, Christian, which is that I was happily sitting at home playing video games. I think it was probably PlayStation 3 back in 2005. And I was having a wonderful time doing that. And my wife was a member of Network Voice Toastmasters, and she was looking for guests. Apparently our club had a guest night every so often where you had to bring a guest, and she was running out of people to bring. And so I came, and I went to a meeting, and it was fun. And that was the end of that. I didn't go to another meeting after that. I was just filling a square. But I kept listening to my wife. She had another guest for guest night, and I would show up. And I started going to meetings regularly as a guest, probably for months. And they would have roles that were open that you need help with. So I was a timer. I think I was a grammarian once. I gave the word of the day, the joke of the day. And then eventually I started having so much fun. I said, can I give a speech? And they said, well, you have to join for that. And so I did join that year, and I became a Toastmaster in 2005.
Wow, 2005, and we hear fun, right? That's what attracts people to meetings and gets them coming back. But the fact that you asked to give a speech, usually those new members have to get prompted out of the back of the room to get up to the lectern to give a speech.
Yeah, it happens.
So you had some fun, you asked to give your first speech. What I'd like to know is, when did you decide that you wanted to take a leadership track in Toastmasters?
It was early, but it was never anything that was big. It was, I had just been a member for a year, and my wife was actually president the year that I joined. And I said, geez, our club is lots of fun, and I really enjoy it here, but there's probably things that we could do better. So I said, well, how do we do that? Like, well, you have to be an officer if you want to do that. And so I said, well, what officer should I be? And they said, well, you should probably just start with president. I didn't know any better. And so after about a year in Toastmasters, I became the president of the club. And it was great. And it was fun to try to change things. And I managed to have a great vice president of education at the time that said, hey, things are going really well this year. I think we could be President's Distinguished. I had no idea what that was.
Right.
But it sounded very important. So I said, all right, well, let's do that. What is it going to take? What do we need to do? So it was really about inspiring people, getting them to be excited about the program. I mean, because I was excited about the program. So that was really what it was about as it got into that. After that, it became, hey, what comes after president? And somebody's like, you should be an area director. And I was like, what do they do? And they told me a little bit about it. They're like, yeah, sure. It sounds like something I'll try out, see how that goes. And it was great. And then after that, I figured out it was division director. I was division director for a year, got elected to that. Division F it was at the time, still is. And then after that, I decided, hey, I should go for Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, which is the current, now we call it Club Growth Director. And I ran for that role. I didn't make it, and I was really bummed about it, and I thought I was going to leave Toastmasters. Instead, Sherry Raftery, if you know Sherry Raftery out there, she said, you should stay and you should be a division director again. So I became a division director for a second time. And after that year, I ran for Club Growth, was it Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, and then I got into the trio. So I mean, that's a little bit about the early years as a Toastmasters. I got into leadership early.
Thanks for that, Stefano. And notice what Stefano said, become that president. People asked you to become president the first year, and you didn't back away from that ask.
Maybe I should have.
maybe. You say you maybe should have, but look at where you are now. Look at what stepping into that role ended up resulting in and developing in your leadership skills, not only inside the district, but outside.
Oh, certainly.
But then I have to ask the question, you went up the ranks in District 31, you became the district director not once, but twice. Why did you decide to be the District 31 director twice?
That was, I have someone that I can blame for that. I went through the first time, and it was a good time. It was challenging, but I got to the end, and I was happy with the work that I did. And then I took a year off, and one of the gentlemen that was actually the program quality director at the time, or actually then it was Lieutenant Governor Education Training, who was going to be the district director the second time, the person that would be moving into his role, the current program quality director, they decided that they didn't want to continue in the trio, so there was going to be a hole. And I felt sad for the friend of mine, and that's actually Rabbi Rick Weiner. He was going to be district director, the first district director, because before that was district governor. And I said, Rick, I feel really bad about this. You need some help because you're going to have 2 new people on your team, not just 1. I said, look, I'd be happy to be a mentor for you, or not. I want to make sure that you're comfortable with this because I've done this before, but I don't want to rain on your parade. And so I said, let me know what you want me to do. If it's mentor a new person, if it's work with you, be your gopher, whatever it takes to help make you successful. Because even though this is a difficult time, I want to help you get the most out of this. He says, that's a great idea. Let me sleep on it and I'll come back with what you can do. And then he called me up the next day and says, I want you to be program quality director. And I said, that wasn't part of the deal. And he says, I feel like inside the trio, you'll have a better opportunity to help me be successful from inside the trio. And so I said, okay, if that's what you want. And so I ran for program quality director and I was elected, and I helped Rick be successful, and that made me very warm on the inside. And then I was district director. And I'd say that it was the most wonderful time the second time through as district director, because I knew what mattered, I knew what didn't matter, and I focused on the things I thought that mattered, and that was making sure that our members were happy, that they got what they wanted out of the program, that they knew that somebody cared about them at the district level. That's what members want. So that's what I worked on the second time, and I loved it.
So that experience at the highest level in the district, doing it twice as a club officer, right? We can be the club officer multiple times, learn from that first experience, and do it over again.
Certainly. I recommend it. The second time is never like the first time.
Now, looking at your trajectory outside of District 31, you were the district director twice. You went on to Toastmasters International. What made you decide that you wanted to go beyond the district and start taking a leadership role in Toastmasters International?
Well, Christian, to be fair, I never thought about that. That was never something that I was like, oh, I'm going to be on the board of directors one day. I would say up until the year that I ran, I would never have thought that I would have done that. It's just wasn't something I thought about. But what changed was that there was a international director that approached me and says, you're back again? When I was district, he's like, you can't do this a third time. You have to run for the board. And there was another international president, John Lau, that came to visit. He was the president that year. This was a while ago. And he said, you should run for the board of directors. I thought he was crazy. Like, I can't do that. Those people are at a different level. They operate at a different level. But I remembered that. And I remember one year when I thought I was going to run, I ended up being running for district office again. And I thought, yeah, this is the natural progression, is to go to the board. He said, no, it's not. He says, what happens is that once you become a district director, you should go out into the world, to your civilian job, your regular day-to-day, and use what you've learned in Toastmasters and how to be a leader, how to be a leader that feels for his people, that makes good strategic decisions. Then once you learn how to apply that in the outside world, then bring what you've learned out there back to the board of directors. That's what we need, is that outside perspective. And that's when I figured, yeah, maybe this is the time for me to do that. I was just finishing up my time in the military. My career was going fairly well, getting promoted outside because of Toastmasters. So I took all those things that I learned and brought it back to the board, and I was able to get elected. So that's why. It was not I never saw this coming from 2005, that's for sure. It was one step at a time. How can I do more good things for people?
But that is a real practical use of Toastmasters. You were the district director, you were advised to go outside, apply the skills that you learned as a leader, help yourself succeed, help others succeed as a leader outside, then come back with that experience and step into a Toastmasters International role. Now, when you decided that it was time to come back from your experience outside of Toastmasters, bring that experience into Toastmasters International, for those who are not familiar, what did that trajectory look like in Toastmasters International leadership to where you are now as the second vice president?
From the international director side?
International director.
So running for international director, you had to be a district director, and you have to campaign for a year, and it's you go to the ILC, the International Leadership Committee. You have to impress them enough that they feel like you are a good candidate, just like the district leadership committee that we have at the district level. They have an international one that's even harder, where they ask you a lot of strategic questions, a lot of questions about how you would be, how you lead, how you think. Once you get nominated by them, then you go up against a much shorter list of people. Now, this last year in Region 9, we had 4, but usually it's only 2. It was 2 when I ran. So there are a lot of qualified people that come out of our region. But once you get onto the board, if you're successful in running, you spend 2 years working on committees, helping to set policy, and really learning a lot deeper about the edges of Toastmasters, the legal repercussions. What kind of a legal organization are we? How many individual companies do we have in other countries that we have to worry about how we pay taxes? How do we deal with clubs that think that they can do what they want because they're in another country? What are the legal ramifications for that? How do we deal with disciplinary issues from people that steal money from Toastmasters? This exists. So after learning about all those things and seeing the good and the bad that come out of it, you have to make a decision of, do you really want to invest the next 5 years of your life doing this at the next level? And now when you choose to run again, these people are all served in the board of directors. So they are all, you want to say the cream of the crop, if you will. These are all upper end leaders in Toastmasters, and they're all competing for this position of second vice president. So it's hard, so you have to really want to do it. You have to really have it pulled together. Here's what I intend to do. Here's what I believe in. Here's why it's important to me. Here's why I'm passionate about the organization. And then if you get elected, that is how you get into second vice president. And from there, it's second vice president, first vice president, then president-elect, and then international president. And those last few roles, they are generally uncontested. Getting into second vice president is the hard piece. But you really have to be dedicated and feel strongly about the organization to want to do this. That much I can assure you.
That strong dedication, right? As you said, this wasn't something that was planned. It was something that evolved.
Yes.
In the leadership journey.
Well said. That is an excellent way to state it. Yes.
And moving up the ranks, second VP, going to be president, should be uncontested.
Yes.
in future years. District 31 has a future president here with us today. I'd like to ask you, Stefano, for people starting their leadership journey in Toastmasters, what advice would you give them?
It's something that I heard from somebody else recently, which is say yes. Try it. A lot of the benefits of Toastmasters, the great things, is that nobody loses their job, nobody gets their wages garnished, nobody gets fired most of the time for being an officer. And the biggest thing that you get out of it is not the planning skills, it's not the strategic vision. Those are all good things. The biggest thing you get out of it is helping somebody else be successful. That's why I'm here. Seeing somebody go from I'm afraid to speak to being able to give a presentation at work and feel strongly about it, to be able to speak at their church, be able to give a retirement speech for a father or a mother, or give a eulogy that they never thought that they could give, but that they need to give. That's what our organization's about, is making sure that people can get to do the things that they do. And none of this happens without leaders. Leaders have to set up clubs and make sure that they run. They provide those opportunities. They provide speech contests, and they set up conferences. They provide the opportunities for other people to excel. Without leaders, none of that happens. If you want to change your life or have a shot at changing your life, be a leader. That's what it's all about in Toastmasters.
So the future leaders out there, you heard it from Stefano McGhee, our second vice president of Toastmasters International, District 31's own. It's about giving back. Take those skills that help you, help other people in your club, become that leader, give back, and help other people succeed as well. And Stefano, I'd like to congratulate you on your new position as second vice president. From District 31, we are very, very proud of you to have us represented in Toastmasters International.
And I couldn't be prouder to represent District 31. I'm overjoyed to represent District 31.
Thank you, Stefano.
Have a good one, man.